Artlist.io.
Hello everyone, Lance and Kel from Refocus on Happiness. Steve Martin has a great phrase. He says, be so good at what you do that people cannot ignore you. I'm going to show you a world that I'm going to make it so obvious what I represent for you. I believe the only reason you would not want to move forward is if you're quite frankly just a glutton for punishment. At the end of the day, let's just be very clear with each other. You want to feel fantastic. When you feel great, you speak great. When you feel great, you make different decisions. And when you feel great, you don't say or do things you shouldn't be saying or doing. It does not matter what you know. It only matters what you can do. And if you cannot control your emotional states and how you feel, you effectively know zero. When you feel like crap, how are you going to stop yourself from saying things and doing things you shouldn't be saying or doing? That doesn't even make sense. So if you are sick and tired of all the concepts you know and the great ideas, but you can't control those emotions, you're tired of not being able to execute, if you're tired of not feeling great, well then I'll show you a world that you wish you got introduced to many years ago. Even the first week, you'll have an experience that is indisputable. And here's the good news for you. At the end of the day, what I teach people, it's not a concept. It's a conditioning. You might talk about your mindsets and all these different things you're trying to do, but if you can't control the way you feel, conditioning actually makes that mindset possible. You can't speak how you don't feel. You can't make decisions align with when you feel like crap. This is what addresses it at the core, the biological core. And what's cool is what you're going to see in this video here is a lot of people you go to for your healing, your classic doctors and therapists and counselors, they come to me, they do my program. But again, I'll make this very obvious for you. So if you decide after you watch this video that what I put in front of you is pretty freaking obvious, happy to have a conversation. And in that case, look forward to speaking to you soon. What brought you my way? What made you decide to engage me, do this program? What was that? What brought you my way?
Well, I think it was just this sudden quest to get rid of heartbreak as fast as I could.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to go down that path. I had suffered a very traumatic divorce about 25 years ago, and I was feeling all those feelings with this recent breakup, and it triggered pretty much everything I thought I had already conquered.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found myself in that state, I just remember being on a quest. I have got to get rid of this soon because I can't get trapped in years and years and years of those thought patterns and thinking, being angry and resentful, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, lo and behold, I was on Facebook one day and
right.
And I kind of saw your ad pop up, but then I was on Instagram and it popped up on Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, maybe this is a sign I should look into this a little bit.
Sure. It was.
It was. And I started looking at all the testimonials and saw how quickly people were recovering from traumatic events, specifically, heartbreaks. And so I thought, well, this is the year I had wanted to invest in myself anyway. I'm going to give this a shot. And so I went in it, completely a step of faith. It was completely something that I would have never done before. But I felt that this time I came first. I had to put myself and my heart, especially, as a priority. So I did. And here we are.
This is true. See, what's really interesting about what you said is I have so many people that I'll talk to, and it's like I tell people, like, listen, this individual, you can refer to him as Mr. or Mrs. Payne, is a very persistent teacher. And it's like, how many more of these cycles do you really want to go through? And I'll say to people, even if you start recovering, like after a couple months, or not, it doesn't have to be that long, but even if you start recovering after, a few weeks, few months, or a year or so after a traumatic breakup, I always ask people, what's the worst part about knowing if this repeats itself, you still don't know what you're missing? You have no reason to know that next time it's going to be any better. So what's interesting here is that you had a pretty, not traumatic, divorce before, and here you are now going through this again and saying to yourself, and again, people relate to that. It's like, wow, you know what? I don't want to go through this again, and I can already see that I'm still missing what I need, and I don't want to do. I better do something differently this time. And I always tell people, like, if you go into that relationship with the same skills, conditioning, if nothing changed, you're the same person going to that future relationship. It's not going to change. It's not.
And that's what this is about. It's about addressing the core biologically. So you actually can control the way you feel, the way you bounce back. It's literally a different you biologically. But I tell people, you can be a couple months removed from a bad breakup that was fucking terrible, but and I know if you have the same thing happen in the future, you're going to go through the same crap all over again. And that's what this is about. It's about breaking the cycle. And it's what's really fantastic, I'm sure for other people too. They can almost even hear the way you said that, almost like that, even though this is in retrospect now, but almost like that sense of urgency, like, all right, I can't do this again. Is that,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Because
this,
I knew that, it's like with every relationship, you obviously learn something about yourself, especially, a breakup. But I think when someone breaks up with you, or like in my case, I was completely ghosted, which
mhm,
is the worst. I don't recommend it for anyone.
no.
It just brings up feelings that you really thought weren't there. And then you've got to work through all of that and ask yourself, why am I still going through this? And why is it as painful as it is?
Hmm.
It doesn't even come close to what I went through in my divorce, but the feelings and the emotions, all of that was still there.
Yep.
I had to really come, to terms with myself and figure out, okay, this is now on me. He's gone.
Hmm.
That he made his choice. I don't even want to consider any reconciliation or a friendship for that matter. He
Yeah.
did. Now I've got to work on myself, and I've got
Yep.
to I've got to figure out how to handle this pain, because with my divorce, I went through the traditional divorce recovery groups. I went through counseling. I joined every Bible study group there was.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
I joined every single mom group there was, and it literally took years. And I think I told you when you and I first spoke, it was almost, I want to say, between 15 and 20 years to where I finally felt like, okay, this is my life now. I can get over it. But I think I don't want to waste another 20 years of my life in that mental cage that I put myself in.
Hmm.
So yeah, this program has worked wonders, and I will forever be grateful.
So yeah, so my pleasure. I tell people, people wonder how I'm kind of around a lot, like all throughout the night and 3 o'clock. I love what I do. I have the best job on earth. I mean, I really get to show, as long as they work hard. That's one caveat. I get to show people what they're really capable of. Yeah, it's my pleasure. And the cool part is, I still maintain it's only the beginning. Like you keep doing what you've learned. It's a straight shot to the top, with the understanding, of course, challenges are part of that process, but you have a different way to leverage them, evolve with them. It's a different world for you. So yeah, and you already give me a great title for the video. Actually, it's like, do you not? Would you like to not waste another 15 to 20 years going through this again? It's a great question. It's like, again, it's really one thing to put on a strong face and say, oh, okay, cool. It's been a few months or a few years and I'm over it. But it's like, what happens if you go through it again? You really want to do that again? You really want to ride that train one more time? I don't think that sounds like very good to me. But yeah, I think a lot of people will relate to that. So let me ask you a question here. So now you saw me on Instagram, you saw me on Facebook, you thought maybe there's something to this here. And then we had a conversation, right? And the thing is, today there's so much skepticism out there, right? And that's the reason why it's great that I have, opportunities like to have conversations with you. People have done it. It's like, these are real people and zillions of them, and you can't really ignore that. But so when you and I spoke, what was it? And look, we all know at the end of the day, even if you went to like Harvard per se, Harvard doesn't guarantee $1 million a year job, but it does shift the odds in your favor. People do things like that because they understand it's going to give you a better chance to get what you need. Doesn't guarantee things. But what was it about our conversation that made you believe I would probably shift the odds in your favor? That you would be better off with me and worse off without me? Because again, it is what it is these days, right? I'm sure there's some level of skepticism when you came onto the calls. This guy going to just try and take my money, da da da. Who knows what you're thinking? But what made you decide at the end of our conversation it's worth the risk, the roll of the dice, if you want to call it that? What was it about our conversation said, okay, I'm going to give this a shot?
Well, what I appreciated most about that conversation was the fact that you listened to me,
Hmm.
and the fact that you allowed me just to speak, and I was a mess when I made that call. I remember I was shaking, as a matter of fact. literally shaking as I held the phone, because I had never done anything like that for myself.
Mhm.
And in part of it was shame, because I thought, here I am, almost 20 years past my divorce, and I'm going through the same emotions again.
Mhm.
Or someone that's not worth going through those emotions for. What is going on with me? And you
Mhm.
allowed me to express all that, because there was a lot of anger in my voice, I'm sure.
Mhm.
You know, there was a lot of emotion there. Um, but the fact that you listened to me, and that you really were comforting.
Mhm.
You appreciated what I had to say. You didn't dismiss it. It wasn't a sales pitch. It was like, this is what I've been blessed with. Now I want to help you, but now it's on you. There was no pressure. There was really nothing. I kept waiting for the sales pitch,
Right, right.
and there
Yeah,
was
yeah.
no sales pitch. It was like, this is something you're going to invest in with you. I found these tools years ago, and my life has radically changed after that.
Mhm.
Now I'm engaged, and I could hear the joy in your voice, and I thought, I want that.
Mhm.
I know that he can share something with me. And then you encouraged me to look at more testimonial videos, because I had seen a bunch on YouTube and things, but I started really looking at all of them. And I think I just bombarded YouTube one night, and just listened to
Mhm.
everything. But I had already heard a lot of the videos before, when we made that call. And so I went for it. I said, I have nothing to lose at this point,
Mhm.
because I've tried everything else. And the only thing against me right now, luckily for me, was time.
Mhm.
I had the resources, I had the money in the bank, and I thought, now's the time to spend it on me, and so I did.
Awesome. Wonderful. Um, so so now we did the program, right? So okay, good question here. So once we started, right? Once we started,
Mhm.
what was the experience with the program? For example, like from the beginning, like how'd you feel like it was in the beginning? And at what point did you know this was going to take you to where you wanted to go ultimately? Like just if you were going to give like maybe the 2 minute synopsis of your experience as far as beginning, like let's see what this really is when you actually started versus like where you're like, okay, I know something's happening too. But what was your, just if you were going to give like a quick summary of your 6 week experience, how would you describe that?
The first 2 weeks were really tough.
Hmm.
I was battling a lot of thoughts. I was battling a lot of what ifs. I was battling a lot of regrets, like, how could I have allowed myself to be fooled this way? Why did I give myself so much time, with this relationship? I should have seen the signs. There was still a lot of guilt and a lot of shame going into the first 2 weeks. But I kept having to remind myself, because like you taught us, have faith in the tools,
Hmm.
have faith in your slides. Even if you don't feel them, read them out loud until you do.
Hmm.
And so I did that, for the first 2 weeks. There was a lot of tears, there was a lot of frustration. Um, and then around week 3, things just started manifesting in my life that I didn't even think were possible.
Hmm.
You know, um, the slide, when you're ready, opportunities will show up, and when you're ready, people will show up. And that slide really became real for me. The first thing that happened to me was that on week 3, I remember calling you super excited that I came into some money that paid for the program.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I was
Hmm.
so psyched about that. I was like, yes, thank you,
Yeah.
God. And so after that, I started getting job offers. I've had 3 pretty good job offers so far since then. But I'm blessed with my job now. I love it. I don't intend on leaving. But just the fact that people out of nowhere started looking for me in terms of offering more opportunities for a better life. Not so much, romance or anything,
Hmm.
the fact that my life was improving and I could feel it.
Yeah.
So right after week 3, I started getting really excited, and I just started wanting to push myself. Like, wow, if this can happen in 3 weeks, what's going to happen by week 4?
Hmm.
So I started really listening to a lot of the calls, and a lot of the modules I would listen to twice. I would rewind and listen again. And I wanted to make sure that I absorbed and internalized every single nugget that was on those modules, because for me, they became priceless.
Mm-hmm.
They became therapeutic. To hear them evolve week after week, I kept thinking, I'm next. That's what's going to happen with me as
Yep.
well. And it did. And I'm known to be very critical of myself. So there were times where you'd have to slow me down and say, okay, pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get so frustrated. It will come. But I never gave up on my morning practice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what drove me. That's what fueled me. And every morning I just had that faith that, okay, yesterday wasn't so much of a great day. I had to capture a lot of those thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to switch them around. And Mr. Pain or Mr. Catalyst is still in my
Yep.
head, but he will soon get out.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept telling myself that and working through the slides. And guess what? He's out.
Praise the Lord.
I'm Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful and just feeling, this state of bliss. And
Mm-hmm.
you said that in one of the modules. And at first, when you're going through the trauma or the heartbreak and you're going through all that pain, you're sitting there like, I don't know how I'm going to ever feel this bliss that he keeps talking
Mm-hmm.
about. But eventually I did.
Mm-hmm.
So weeks 4 through 6 were so enlightening for me and so exciting. Things with work kept coming up. I received a bonus. I'm in line for another one, by the way, so I'm super
Good for
excited.
you. You're literally in bonus territory now.
Yes,
The
I
bonus, the
am.
bonus on top of the bonus.
Yeah, so it's just blessing after blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And now, week 6 was a little sad for me because I kept thinking, no, I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
it to end. The Tuesday calls were very therapeutic for me. And just to hear everyone's story and everyone's questions about the slides and about the tools and such, it made me feel like I was part of something, that I wasn't going through this by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a sense of community there that I really enjoyed. And so, yeah, that's kind of what my 6 weeks looked like.
All right, wonderful. You're still part of the community. You're just
Yes, I'm
a different end of it, but yeah, you're,
Yeah,
you're still part. You'll always be part of it. So
thank
so
you.
that so yeah, you had some really great stuff in there, and one thing I'll just kind of add here. I did another video testimonial like a little earlier today, and it's interesting, kind of like I would say typically most people, I would say maybe over half, for sure over half. I would say that the vast majority, by the time somewhere between the end of week 2 and beginning of week 3, that's when the vast majority say, okay, this is clearly working. I got it. It might be hard still, but they reach that quote unquote threshold of like, okay, this is real. Usually the first week or so, it's like people live their whole life being told complete bullshit. So it's very hard to overcome that bullshit in the first week. Sure, you put your faith into it, you're like, all right, I might as well commit to this here. But it's still, there's a part of people, because they've been told so much crap for so many years. It's like, wow, my brain can really do that. That's not what I've been told. So
Right.
my point is, I would say vast majority of people, by the time they get to the end of week 2, that's when they cross that threshold. But what's interesting is for you and the other person I did a video testimony earlier today, it was on the latter end. Because I remember you and I had a lot of individual conversations where it was definitely very challenging well into week 3. And I think
Mhm.
that's really good for people to hear, because like, number one, I say this is not a magic trick. It's hard. But if you stay the course, everyone gets there. If you really do what I ask you to do and you follow that recipe. And what was great is it was a little harder for you. That's true, but we got there. And I would say probably for you, it's probably like the end of week 3, maybe the beginning of week 4, where you finally like, all right, the skies are really starting to part here. I can really see the sun. And again, I think it's really great, because I like to tell people, like, again, this is not easy. It's not a magic trick. It's like a real workout. It's a different type of workout. And it's nice to have on top of, I have so many of these video testimonials at this point, and most of them say like in a couple of days, it's working, a week, it's working. It's actually kind of nice to kind of balance, say, hey, everyone moves. Some people a little faster, some people a little slower. And that's for many reasons, by the way. It just like, I personally, when I went down the same path as you, it took me a little bit to get really some momentum going too. I kind of got a little bit of a slow start, but once I'm going, I'm going. That's just really cool. But it's nice to have like a nice spectrum array of people that, where some people are really rocking by the end of week 2, and some people are maybe towards the end of week 3, early week 4. But the most important thing is we got there. That's the most important part. Most important part is eventually that traction hit. And I think this is good for people to know who too, because regardless of whether someone who's a little faster or slower, I tell people I will go farther beyond what you're expecting. Like, everyone expects when they start the program, one call a week. What the contracts say very clearly, one group call a week. Do not expect anything more. I will get you where you want to go, but that's the contract. But with you and I had a lot of conversations offline individually. Did I not go a little bit beyond for you and do what I needed to do to get you to where you wanted to go? I think it's nice for people to know at the end of the day, I will get you where you want to go. I'll do what it needs to take. And so what was your experience when you did have those challenges and you did need a little bit more beyond what the program said you were going to get? What was your experience working with me as far as that extra support you needed?
Well, what I really appreciated is that you always gave us that in, right? If you have a question, I don't care what time it is, you text me and I'll or call me. I'll do my best to get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you did every single time I had a question or I was feeling, frustrated. And what I appreciate the most was that you really allowed me to just kind of accept it as I was going through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I finally had to embrace the fact that I was unconditioning years and years
Mm-hmm.
of disappointments, and
Yep.
of negative thought patterns, and the neuroscience behind this program is what really made me aware of, wow, these pathways that I'm conditioning, that I'm starving, the ones that don't apply to my life anymore, the ones that
Mm-hmm.
don't serve me, it is going to take time.
Yep.
And, you use so many different analogies that helped me understand that.
Yep.
Me being a teacher, it was easy for me to relate to all of those because that's exactly what I do for students,
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I do for teachers today. And so to know that I was now on that learning path that many of my students have been on,
Mm-hmm.
it a different type of learning, so to speak, and a different type of conditioning, but it's very empowering to know that you have the power to change your own brain. You have the power to change those negative thought patterns. And some of us have years and years of that stuff that doesn't even relate to relationships, but it comes into play when we're in one or when we're ending one. And that is what I learned, is that you can live through a divorce and survive it and raise your kids successfully into being young adults, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But if those thought patterns are still there, they can be triggered or woken instantly
Mm-hmm.
unless you get rid of them.
Yeah. Yep.
And I am so thankful that this is what this program is all about. You get rid of those thought patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as frustrated as I was, I love the fact that you allowed me to walk through that and you answered every single text, every single question. You guided me through the whole thing. So it was really nice. It was very empowering. I've never had a life coach before, so I'm so thankful.
Good. Good. Good.
I've always heard good things about it. I always wondered, should I do that? Should I seek out that kind of help? And I'm really glad that I did. Because yeah, you were there every single time. So thank you.
You're welcome. My
And you were in
pleasure.
Chile. You were like
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
several hours difference? And sometimes I'd call him like, oh, it's 1 a.m. for
Yeah.
him. Darn it. But you'd always respond. And I was so appreciative of that.
Yeah, I always tell people just give me a little leeway, but I get back to you 24 hours or so.
Mhm.
So awesome. Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Yeah, you did great. And on that note, I'm going to add some here to anyone listening here. Maybe a quick little question first. If you remember when we start the first couple times we spoke, I
Mhm.
always overmanage expectations. Remember, I said not a magic trick. This is hard. It's a biological process. Don't think you're going to start where you started and become the Dalai Lama in a week or two. It doesn't work like that. Every week, set next piece here. So if you look back now, compared to our first conversation, I said, hey, it's a progression, a true biological progression. How well do you think I manage? Because I like to believe I overmanage expectations to know if anything, people are beyond what they're expecting. But I try to make sure, like, hey, no unicorns in the next room, no birds chirping flying over your head. It's hard. It's a workout, and you're going to move within the confines of human biology. So if you look back to how I managed your expectations at the beginning, and you look at where you're at now, how would you say what I told you, as far as, again, this is going to be hard, it's a real process, to where you are now, would you say I gave you pretty good guidance as far as what you could expect?
Oh, absolutely. And with every phone call or text, I remember you would tell me things like, pretty soon you're not going to need to call me. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you don't know who you're talking to here, Lance.
yeah, yeah.
But it's true. And I felt that every time I spoke with you, you gave me guidance, you gave me clarification, you gave me different ideas and how to look at the tools and how to apply the slides and how to maneuver them and such. And I would come up with these radical ideas. Hey, can I do this? Can I do this? And you'd say, no, that's not part of your
Yeah,
number.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So take a breath and just trust me. And and I did. And so I'm really thankful that you caught me in all those because um, I kept wanting to reinvent somehow the slides or whatever. But yeah, you were so helpful in that. And it's true, as the weeks progressed, we really do need less and less of that guidance because you've taught us how to do it on our
Mhm.
own. So I'm very, very grateful for that.
My pleasure. So I'll add to anyone listening here. One of the things that allowed you to succeed as well as you did, and again, it's hard, and I'm willing to do what I need to do to push people forward. But
Mhm.
Christina, you always did what I asked you to do. You always followed. I never had to repeat myself. We hit different topics, and certain there were certain more layers to things, but I never had to repeat myself. We had a conversation. I'd have you recommit and say, hey, these are uh, the the points where we could tweak things and really make some corrective measures. But I never had to repeat myself. You know, so very, very important for everyone listening that at the end of the day, you always followed. This was a process, and you allowed me to work with you to constantly give you that feedback and course correction. But at the end of the day, when you came to me with ideas and said, "Don't do that," you always followed what I asked you to do, and you always stayed the course. I never had to repeat myself, and that's also part of why you succeeded so well. At the end of the day, it is a very specific recipe, just like baking a cake. Cake, if you want the cake to be delicious, it needs to be in the right order, the sequence, the right measurements, and you never tried to create your own recipe. You always did exactly what I asked you to do, and that's what allowed you to really succeed, because it's not easy, and there's no room for having to repeat myself or those kind of things. But you did great, and I was always willing to give you a lot more time and energy, because I recognized during our time there was more layers we just need to address to really make sure we're moving forward. But you always followed, and that's what allowed you to succeed. At the end of the day, you always follow the recipe.
Yeah, and it all comes down to trust. If you
Yep.
trust yourself, you have to trust in the people that you bring in to help you evolve and to help you grow.
Yep. Hmm.
And I had to keep reminding myself of that. It's like I followed my gut. I jumped out on faith, and I'm doing this program. So now I have to trust that the program's going to work
Yep.
because those 50 plus testimonials that I saw, before I made my decision, they all had great outcomes.
Hmm.
So, and I know they're not actors,
Yep. Yep.
so
Can you
yeah,
attest to you're not an actor?
I'm not an actress.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, good, good. Just so everyone's clear here. Okay, good. Did I
I
pay
am
you for this call? Are you getting paid here?
not getting No, I'm
Okay, all
not.
right, all right, good, good, good. Make this stuff up here. I would
Mhm.
say over half the people, and you've seen enough of these, you've been in the groups, and I would say over half the people just during our time together are getting promotions, raises, some kind of cash infusion. I can't even make this shit up here. And there's some very um, obvious reasons for that. You show up in life differently. You're more responsive. You're more engaged. You become the kind of person people want to be around. People want to work with. I mean, there's very common sense reasons for that. But I would say over half the people just during the 6 weeks alone get a big part of the tuition back, and you're one of them. So,
Mhm.
so let me ask you in just a kind of an overall way here. What were some of your biggest surprises, or your biggest surprises that you got that you did not expect from doing this program, including perhaps making more money, multiple promotions, or yeah. What would you say were some of the biggest surprises you experienced out of doing
What
this?
I mean, besides the money part of it, the fact that my tuition was covered, 3 weeks into the program, that was great for me. But the opportunities that have come my way, and not only with my employer, but just in life in general. investments and business mentorships and
Mhm.
things that I would have never found, I don't think, with this frame of mind that I'm in. So for me, the biggest thing that I received was clarity and hope,
Mm.
because I've always been a hopeful person, but I've never had the clarity behind it. I don't know if that makes sense for people or not, but just the clarity of, knowing now I have tools to really, really focus in on my prayers and for them to be internalized and mean something for me. Now I have my tools to really look at my meditation and know that it's going to be a meaningful experience every single time. And I have a morning workout that I would have never committed to because I am, ask anyone in my circle, I detest exercise. I
Mhm.
really do. And
Right.
I never made it a priority. And now I wake up energized. I wake up wanting to exercise. I can't wait to do my morning routine
Mhm.
because it's not about just affirmations. It never was. It's not about sitting there and meditating. It's not, praying. It's everything combined and really that, like you said, that biological transformation. And when you start to feel it, because you can feel it, I feel it. I feel that clarity in my head
Mhm.
now. I can focus a lot better in work. I appreciate everything in my life so much at such a deeper level. I tell my friends I love you now. I never used to say that.
Wonderful.
My friends look at me like, what drug are you on? But it's like when you feel that joy and that
Mhm.
clarity in life and in your heart, especially, you can't help but express it,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yep. So,
But
so I'm going to try and translate what you said, so it's really clear for people what you said, and you tell me if I'm getting it right here.
okay.
Christine, what I believe Christine is really saying here to anyone listening here, so you really guys really understand, is when she talks about being clear, what she really means to say to you guys, I believe, and Christine, you'll tell me if I'm translating properly here, is she feels good. When you feel good and you feel clear, it's much easier to see things for how they really are. When you can truly see things, when you feel good, you can think good thoughts. When you feel good, you can speak good. You can make good decisions. But bottom line is you're not distracted and diluted from bullshit. So when you feel good, that is what allows you to see clearly. When you feel good, that is what allows you to see without fog goggles. Most people live their whole life in a fucking fog because they feel like crap. It's just like, if you're walking around in survival all day, feeling the stress and pressure of what you got to do at work, what you got to do with your relationships, your friends, your family, and all day long you're bogged down and distracted and diluted by all that emotional residue, it's very hard to have anything left to focus on your dreams or to feel good so you can allocate that energy towards those kind of things and think in a clear way. So what Christine is saying is addressing the core, so she's has the condition, the skill, the consistency to feel great. That is what clears her in a very repeatable, consistent manner, which allows her to execute in other areas of her life. It's again like literally taking those fog fucking lenses and throwing them in the trash.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And the key for me was learning how to embrace happiness
Mhm.
within myself, because I don't have to look for happiness externally anymore. And I think that's what brings the fog in for so many people,
Mhm.
is looking for that outside validation. They're looking for that outside acceptance and that outside love. And that's not what makes successful relationships by any
Mhm.
means. So yeah, you're very right. Just learning how to embrace the happiness that I have within me now and know that it's already been placed in there
Mhm.
in my heart. It's already been placed in my mind. And now I have to, evolve my life around that instead of anything externally. So
Mhm.
when you come to terms with that, you absolutely see everything clear. You see people who for who they are,
Yep.
I
Yep. Yep.
love the slide, that
Yep.
slide says, um,
When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
when
The
someone
very first time. Yeah. Yeah.
they are, believe them. I
Yep.
love that slide. And that was the key slide for me to help me get over my relationship and help me get
Mhm.
over my breakup and help me realize where I failed in that relationship as well.
Mhm.
because it's never just one person, even though they ghost you. There's always an underlining reason for that. So I had to come to terms with that too. And that clarity helped me with that also. So it was very, very, very healing, extremely healing.
All right. One last question. So how
Mhm.
do you feel about your future? How do you feel now about your ability to break that pattern permanently? How do you feel, yeah, about the future, breaking like do you feel like you broke the pattern? Like how do you feel now about whatever's coming up in the future and your ability to handle it? And
I
and 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 not just handle it, but like make the most out of it, like really embrace it. Uh really just I think the word I'm thinking of here is like really convert. Like how do you feel about your ability to really seize what, like really take advantage of what comes in front of you in the future and enjoy it?
I think for me, I'm very confident now in the hope that I have, but the strength that I've gained from this. People used to tell me, "Oh, you're so strong for what you went through. You're so strong." And I'd sit there, I'm like, "No, I'm not. You
Mhm.
have no idea what I think about at night.
Yeah.
You have no idea what I cry about. That's not strength to me." Now I know I'm strong. I feel it. I feel so completely different. And I think for me, it's just knowing that I'm embracing this next part of my life with that strength, with that clarity, that confidence in myself. That you know, sitting there and crying about relationships and, oh, I don't want to be by myself, and oh, this empty nest thing is horrible. Now I don't even worry about that stuff. I look forward to the rest of my life. I look forward to the things that I can create. But mainly am looking forward to being able to, like that slide that says that we've been chosen to be an example for
Hmm.
others. I feel so fortunate that I'm part of this community now,
Hmm.
because I'm not going to take that lightly. To me, that's like my, um, I guess I want to say like my mission,
Hmm.
because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are hurting, and I'll be able to embrace relationships and business partnerships, knowing that about myself, but also knowing that they might be at a part in their lives where they don't have that clarity.
Hmm.
So being able to accept people for where they're at and to love them regardless,
Or at least
um,
accept them.
and always accept them,
At
right?
least at least accept them. Maybe not love them, but at least accept them.
It makes accepting them so much
Yeah.
easier. And just in my business negotiations and dealing with teachers and such during my job, during the week, it's a world of difference. And
Hmm.
coming into those relationships with that different perspective. I'm super hopeful for my life. I know it can only get better. I know it's an evolving process,
Hmm.
so every day, I know that it's something I can't fall back on. Like people that have lost massive amounts of weight, they're never going to go back to where they were, ever.
Hmm.
But they have to keep doing the work.
Hmm.
And that's how I see myself, is I have to make that promise to myself every day, so I don't lose this joy, this happiness. I don't ever want to lose it.
And you never, and the cool part is you never will. But the
Yes,
caveat is just like a muscle. You never will, as long as you continue to do your workout, as long as you continue to follow the regimen. You can get the best shape in the world and then start eating potato chips and hanging on the couch. We all know what happens to those muscles then. But as
right.
long as you keep doing your process, your workout, it's impossible not to move forward.
It is.
Yep.
So thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure, Christina. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome. Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is great. So now next steps for you. Let me hit the pause button here. So,
Oh,
okay, so I got to press record again. So that is super, super interesting and valuable for people to know, because I always tell people in the beginning the call or the beginning of the program, like you might find out by the time the program is done, you might think completely differently about that person. And what you were saying when you and I first started the program, you had certain thoughts or certain ideas.
yeah, I had this hope that maybe he'd call again, because his last word was, "I'll talk to you soon." So I could think, okay, well, soon might be tomorrow, soon might be next week.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm doing this program and I'm going to be all ready for this person to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought at that point, and it was, by the way, within the first 3 weeks of the, of the program,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of still holding on to that last comment he made,
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk to you soon. And as I kept going through the weeks and as I kept getting stronger, I thought, no, I don't want this type of person in my life, not even in terms of a friendship, because
Mm-hmm.
people don't do that to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I allow someone to do that to my kids?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to turn around and allow them to do that to my life?
Mm-hmm.
No. So as the program went on, I found myself not praying for him to come back, but praying for him to stay away. And
That's great. Yeah.
true. Like, Lord, you protected me, you pulled me, yanked me out of that situation, as hurtful as it was. But I am so thankful that that happened to me now. Who says they're thankful for being ghosted? Now I do,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want that in my life ever. And I don't want people that do that, that have the capacity to do that to someone, to be a part of my life. Absolutely not. They don't deserve my energy anymore. And that's where I'm at. And I owe it all to this program. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're
But
welcome.
it's the God honest truth. I used to pray for him to come back. Now I pray for him to stay away.
How about that?
That's what it.
Awesome. Are you, and I guess one last little follow-up question, that when I tell people this all the time, like, I know you might have certain ideas in your head in the beginning, but if you, again, as you were able to push more of that emotional muscle, you might surprise yourself how differently you start to feel about that person sooner than you know. If I told you, or I'm sure, I did tell you that, but now looking back after what you experienced, are you a little surprised you made that transition as quickly as you did?
I'm extremely surprised. Yeah.
Kind of amazing,
Because
huh?
I went with my divorce, where I thanked God for my divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I even thanked my husband for the divorce, because now, in retrospect, you're like, yeah, we were better off without each other. But that took me 15 years to come to that realization.
Mm-hmm.
This took me, what, 21, 22 days at the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I am super thankful that this turned around for me so quickly, because that's exactly what I told you, that's what I was looking for. I want to get rid of this heartbreak. I want to get rid of this relationship as quickly as I can get rid of it, because I'm at a stage in my life where I'm too old to be dealing with this stuff. This stuff is for millennials, not for me. I don't want it anymore. I
Awesome.
don't have time. My life is too precious to be wasting energy and emotions on that.
Well said. So to close here, for anyone listening to this call here, you're not going to be here forever. If you're sick and tired of spinning the wheels, spending time with the wrong people, you're tired of the same patterns over and over again, and you just want to feel fucking great, and you want to just be good either way, you and I need to have a conversation. Very simple. The website you go to, refocusonhappiness.com/now. Simply, again, refocusonhappiness.com, refocus on happiness.com/now. Just go there, select a time. There's an application. Take that application very seriously, because if you want me to take you seriously, you're going to want to take that seriously, because that gets me up to speed in your situation. For that, we'll have a conversation. I want to be clear, this is something you do for you alone, if you really just want to feel fucking great and good regardless, just like Christina did. So that's it. Hope to hear from you guys soon. And just know, you really don't have to suffer. Contrary to what you've been told your whole life, at the end of the day, it does not matter what you know, it matters what you can do. When you feel great, you speak great. When you feel great, you make different decisions. That is the crux. That's the foundation for everything you want in this life. So hope to speak to you guys soon. All right. Take care.
It's so precious. Don't waste one more time crying. It's not worth it.
Definitely not.
With everything that holds me down, no, no.
Music licensing reimagined.